much, too much. I love you much, too much. I've known it from the start, right from the start. But yet my love is such, I can't control my heart.
And we're back to the shitty season that the Mets are having. I can't stand it. What's good, Lash? How you doing, man?
Yeah, the Orioles are not doing too much better. The Orioles have one more win than the Mets, and they have the same amount of losses. So I can't say much. Problem with the Orioles is they had the same problem as the Mets. The offense is just inconsistent, and the guys that they expect to produce are not producing. So you could say Mets and the Orioles are having parallel seasons. Pitching is starting to get better for the Orioles. The Mets pitching has not been the problem at all as far as the starting rotation for the Mets. They've been pitching pretty well. It's just offense is lackluster at best. And the Orioles, same thing. One week they'll do great, the next week they do terrible. So I always say by the end of July, by the end of June, you already know if you're a contender or a seller before the trade deadline starts in August. So they're going to be sellers, the Orioles, which I'm fine with. If I'm the Orioles, I'd trade Adley Rutschman because you just gave Sam Basallo, the other catcher, a 8-year deal. So there's no point having two catchers. You could trade him to the Yankees, who are in desperate need of a catcher. You can get a first-round prospect back for him. He's that good defensively and offensively. When he's good. He's doing all right. He's just been inconsistent. He got hit in the head again today against Seattle, so he might be out for a while. But that's a good problem the Orioles have. You have two reliable catchers that now you could trade one away and, retool your farm system because the farm system, all the guys they've called up and the farm system has now become weak. They need to get starting pitchers. They need to find an ace. I like the position players. They got to get a couple outfielders. The guys they have are just fill-ins until either they can get a long-term guy like Tyler O'Neill's just a fill-in. Leody Taveras, he's a free agent that they signed. He's a one-year wonder probably. They'll probably let him go at the end of the year. And Heston Kjerstad, he's hurt. Things like that. Colton Cowser, he just came back from the IL. So. Third base, it's Jordan Westbrook when he gets back, but he's hurt. Kobe Mayo's been all right. Jackson Holiday, at second. Henderson at at short. So they have the key players. It's just they're not producing. I don't know what it is. It's just they just don't have it, and it's annoying because the potential is there. And this was a team that was very hyped up in 2022. Like this team is up and coming. They're gonna be good and. It's completely been bust. So. I thought so too. I got excited. So, wow, might see a World Series before I die. But, which I still can. I'm not saying they're terrible. They're not like the Orioles of, in the mid-2000s where just 100-plus losses 5 straight years in a row. They're not that terrible. They just have missing holes. They got a new manager. He's all right. And to me, the manager doesn't have effect on the team anymore. It's just they don't have say really, and their word or their ideas or their implants on the team doesn't really show. And so it's just GM and the players that make the game work nowadays, and the analytic department. Those three things. But so it sucks to wave the white flag. If they finish above 500, great. Are they gonna be a 100-loss season? I don't think so. I'd say they probably finish with mid-80s losses.
They already have.
They're gonna finish.
There's 6 games below 500.
Yeah,
half games back in the division. It's
they're
funny
not
because
going anywhere.
at home they're three above 500, right? But away is the problem. Away you're
They
9 games below, and the run differential is a negative in the 36. You know what I'm saying? So like, you just lost one in a row, and last 10, 4 out of the last 10, not good.
Yeah, the previous homestand before last week was great. They were 7-3. They went on the road. They finished 3-3. They came back and said, "Oh, we got a little momentum." And then they came home. They split the series with Seattle. They should have won that series, but you take a split. A split is not a loss or a win. And then San Diego, who's been terrible, the Mets took 2 out of 3 from them. They managed to lose to them 2 out of 3. On a game on Sunday they could have won, or Saturday's game they could have won. They just blew it. It's just things like that. And now they're on the road. They're on the West Coast, 9-game trip. They got Seattle. They lost 2 out of 3. Then they got the Dodgers. They're gonna get swept by the Dodgers, without a doubt. They're that good, the Dodgers. And then they play the Angels. Angels, they'll probably win 2 out of 3 against the Angels, and then come back home. But it sucks because the feelings like, man, it's not even June. The season's already over, and that's what frustrates me of baseball. Because this is where I say, see, this is proof that parity doesn't exist, because half the teams, because the definition of parity to me is that every team is competitive and every team has a chance to win the chip. And in May and June, your team is already out of the season. That's not parity. That's disaster. And it's annoying, because that's why I always say, if you get off to a bad, baseball is one of those sports, if you get off to a bad start, you're screwed. In football, if you get off to like a 0-4 start, you have a chance to come back. You get on a 7-game winning streak, you're now 7-4, and now you're back in the swing of the playoffs. But in baseball, once you're 10 games under, going into starting the season, or somewhere in the beginning of the season, you're just gonna be playing catch up. That's what Orioles have been doing. Catch up. Same thing with the Mets. You got to get to 500 before you even think about playoffs.
Yeah, but it's not even about that, Lash. Like, okay, you say that, right? You say, okay, you're playing catch up, but it's all right. If you play consistent baseball and you play really good baseball, then everything else will fall into place. Even those teams that are so high up there, they're gonna have their moments. Like, okay, look, when Judge just got hurt, right? So everybody's like, oh, the Yankees are gonna fall apart. They're not gonna be able to play without him. And look, they won 8 out of the last 10. You know what I'm saying? So like, sometimes you don't need that big piece. Sometimes you play good baseball and everything else falls. The Mets can't play good baseball. They play mediocre baseball. All right, so you beat the Braves in a 3-game series. Oh my God, that's amazing, right? And then you go to Cincinnati and you lose 12-0 in
You
the
lose two
first
out of
game.
three, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, get out of here with that. Not, no,
And now
no.
you got the Phillies, which is ahead of you. So you
And we
took
just beat
today's
them.
game, which is good,
Yeah.
in
Yeah, we'll
Phillies.
beat them. We'll beat them. And then you
It's a
know what we'll do?
4-game series.
We'll get swept by the next team coming home. Lindor's supposed to be coming back, blah, blah,
Yeah, I
blah,
saw that.
blah, blah, blah. Let's just sell. You know what I'm saying? Let's be serious about this selling situation. Because now, if we start playing what they consider good baseball, we're not playing good baseball because we're winning 3, 4 games and then we're losing 9 in a, it's like the balance isn't there. That's why we're still 13 games back. Like, are you crazy?
Yeah, it's this is what baseball, this is what teams do to you, right? They get on a little nice streak, they pull you just as right as you're about to either hit
Shut
the
it down
wave the
for
white flag, or you're
yeah.
gonna the cliche is, I'm gonna just jump off the bridge. Then they just pull you right back and say, I'm gonna climb over the wall and just I'll stay on the road. I'm not gonna jump off. Let's just see what happens. And then you do that, and then you're right back on the other side of the wall. I'm like, oh, the fence. It's like, darn, man, I should have just hit the white flag and just ran with it.
Exactly.
And that's what they do to you. They give you a little hope, because baseball, you live in the moment. You live by the day. That's how I live baseball. That's what I like about baseball. You live in the moment. Your team wins. I don't know about you, but when my team wins, I feel good. I go to sleep well. I say, okay. They provide hope. Every time your team wins, it's a sense of hope. Same thing with football. Same thing with the it just what happened with the Knicks in New York. All those 12-game winning streaks during the playoffs, dude, what are they? Like 12-1 in the playoffs? Dude, you know how much hope that is? That's amazing. That's so much confidence.
Yeah,
Like, man, this team can't. The Knicks ain't gonna stop nobody, and that's exactly what they did. They just roughshod everybody, and and they gave you a lot of hope. And so for me, if I was a Mets, where in your case, you should have a lot of hope in you because if the Knicks can do it 53 years later, the Mets can do it. See what reason why the Knicks were successful this time is because the owner Dolan, he finally found someone that he could trust. He finally trusts Leon Rose and Worldwide West to lead the team, and then he said, "All right, I'm gonna step back. I'm gonna trust you because these guys he brought in had cachet." They brought in Phil Jackson, that didn't work, so that was a mistake. But he still stuck with the guys, and he let him do what he had to do, and he finally put the team together. And he didn't get a bunch of superstars. All those guys on the Knicks. How many of those guys do you know? Did you know of Jalen Brunson? No one knew about Brunson until now. People heard of Towns before, and all
yeah.
that. But other than
Um,
that, so what I'm just trying to say, that's a good recipe for the Mets. Okay, if Cohen can find something that he truly trusts and believes in, and it sounds like he believes in Stearns, but I don't see it. We don't see it because we see what's on the field. It's like, do I really trust what you're doing? It doesn't seem to work in your second year with them, so it's hard. But the thing is, what I'm trying to say is, as an owner, if the owner can find someone, a GM that he can trust, and knows he knows what he's doing, and you just lay back and let him do his thing, then you'll win a chip. You don't necessarily have to have superstars to win. That's how Atlanta won a couple years ago. When they got a bunch of those guys that they won the 21 World Series, they had guys like Ahmad Rosario, people you never heard of.
yeah,
But they had a bunch of nobody, misfits, toys. Yeah, but then like bringing a superstar, in the trade deadline, they already had Acuna, they already had Freeman. So it can be done. It's just you got to find the right people to run the show. And that's a very hard thing to do as a GM because, just like any job, right? When you hire somebody, you don't think about what great things you're going to do with them. You worry about the risks. If someone hires me, what are the potential risks that might occur if I hire Lasha or hire you or hire somebody else? That's just the way jobs think of people. It sucks, but because they don't know your work ethic, they don't know what you do. They don't know. They're just going by what you wrote on a piece of paper. Same thing with sports. Same thing with the Mets. The Mets are going. Reason why they hired Stearns is based on what happened when he was in Milwaukee. Now he wasn't the head guy in Milwaukee. I don't think, right? He wasn't the head GM over there.
yeah, he was.
He was the head. Okay,
His
so but
contract was
anyway,
over. But this is the problem. Okay, you say that. I understand what you're saying. I make perfectly good sense, right? But now you can't blame the GM because this is why you can't blame the GM. Let me explain to you. It's very simple. The reason why you can't blame the GM is because when he put the team together, he said, "All right, this looks good. I like based on what this guy did last year. If he does that over here, he's been consistent all his life. The numbers look good, and he's gonna fit in just perfectly, right?" He did that with that 2024 team. Remember that team struggled, and he said, "I don't know why this team isn't, producing because I put it together to win." And this team too, we put it together when we looked at it, we said, "Oh man, this looks good," but then none of those guys were hitting. You know, look, we're looking at Bichette right now, right? So like once he puts he's like, "All right, this is what I put together, guys," and then they go out there. These players aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. Is that the GM's fault, or is it the way the development, or you know the players having bad luck, or he the coaches aren't a good fit, or what is it? There's so many different things, but we can't blame him. The GM is like so far removed after the fact. Wouldn't you say so? With so many people, they're trying to make the team better and the players better. I don't know.
yeah, no, that's right because the job of a GM is the job of a GM is like a mover, right? What is the job of the movers? Their job is to put the stuff, move the stuff for you. It's your job to arrange it and put it together the way you want it. You know what I mean? So he grabs all the players, right? Stearns. It's
Yeah,
now
yeah,
the it's now the manager's job to use those players accordingly to where he wants to
Exactly.
position them. It's just like furniture in a house. You got to figure out where you want to put it when you move into a new house. So what happened with the Mets? They got a bunch of new players this offseason, and he's got to figure out where they fit. And that's what makes managers great and football coaches great, because they're able to find someone's strength and say, oh, this is what you're really good at. Okay, all right, you're only going to come in on this play. All right, you're good at fielding bunts. Okay, you're only going to come in when there's a bunt situation. Or, okay, you're really good at bunting yourself. You're going to come in at a bunting situation. Or you're good at stealing. We'll only use you when you steal bases because that's what you're good at in the high leverage situations. You know what I mean? And Mendoza, yeah, he's young, but he's inexperienced. He has no cachet. I feel like sometimes he's over his head, over his skis sometimes.
He is. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
And the problem is I think Steve Cohen is afraid to let him go because it's gonna put a bad mark on Stearns, because Stearns is the guy that picked this guy. You remember, Cohen had no say in who Stearns picked. He just said, okay, you're going to be in charge of picking the manager. I'm not going to have an influence. You want this guy, I'll give you the money. You go get him, and that's it. It's between you and him. And that's what he did. This is the guy Stearns handpicked. So you can't blame Cohen for that one. You can blame him for the money, but those guys don't get money anyway. But the point is this is who he picked, and it's not working out. So it's a mark against Stearns. And that's going to make Cohen look bad because Cohen literally waited until he became available, waited for Stearns to become available because he had his eyes set on Stearns and he believed in this guy that he could do it because he saw what he did. See, the thing is where you don't realize is you don't know what goes on in Milwaukee and what goes on here. It's two different environments. You know what I mean? You can just assume it's all baseball environments are the same, but they're not. They might have a different way of doing things. You know what I mean? They might have a better vetting system of who they bring in and who they don't bring in. You know what I mean? Or they might have a better way of developing players that the Mets don't have. Same thing with the Orioles. All these teams. And so that system might have worked with Stearns in Milwaukee. Remember, you're only as successful as a place where you are because if the environment around you is conducive to the way you want to run the team, then it works. So we don't know if the environment in New York is conducive to the way Stearns wants to run this baseball team. You know what I mean? So it's all that also plays a role in success. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and now you know what? The Mets have never been good with having too many options either. It's like, okay, this is the hand we have, this is the hand we play. But that gives the player consistency, but now, with so many options, up, down, left, right, here, we're dropping you now, you're going back up, you're coming back down. This guy's playing this position, there's so many different changes on a daily basis. It's bad for the team. I know that for a fact. Now Lindor's gonna come back, so let's see how, Rashad adapts to going back to third and playing a consistent, every on a daily basis. It's like, I don't know. Let's see. I mean, Bichette's hitting now. So is he hitting because he can be considered trade bait? You know what I'm saying? Because, with numbers like, all right, look, in the last week, 30 at bats, 15 hits, 3 doubles, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, 4 strikeouts. That's it. And a walk, 27 total bases. Those are serious numbers. Like, you're saying, oh, he's turning it around now. If that's true, shit. This is in the last 7 days, He's been like carrying the team. It's funny. And Simeon's been hitting the ball too, 25 at bats, 6 hits, 1 home run, 2 RBIs, 9 total bases, 5 walks, I don't know, they're starting to hit. The kids are always hitting, and of course Soto's hitting, Soto, but Bichette's batting 500 in the last week, Soto's batting 480. If Lindor comes back and he wants to be part of this team and he wants to hit, maybe the core can start something, I don't know. And now,
yeah. Well, with Bichette, I had a feeling. For Bichette, I felt like I wasn't worried about Bichette. I always felt like he would finally figure it out, and that's what's happening. It just took longer. It's a new environment, new league. So I never had no doubt with him. It's just what's messing with him is going back and forth positions. This is what the Mets did last year. It's annoying. Flip floppers. It's like, all right, one day you can play here. Just find a guy, keep him there. If Bichette's natural position is third base, leave him there. If it's shortstop, leave him there. You can rotate. You can platoon. You can platoon Vientos and is Mauricio back from the IL? Or is he still out?
He's still out, I believe.
So you know what I mean. We'll just rotate around. You know, that's what they did with the outfield until they finally brought in Ewing and the other guy. You know, so now you know who your core outfielders are for next year. So that's a good sign if I'm the Mets and they're doing well. Okay, I know I got Ewing next year. I know I got the other guy and I got Soto. Your outfield is set for next year. Catcher is still up in the air because what's his name?
Torrens and Alvarez.
Francisco Alvarez just came back. He just was on the IL. He just came back.
And
so it's
well.
going to take a while.
Doing well. He's hitting the ball.
He's doing all right. He's hitting the ball, but you know, the thing is he injury? Is he going to be injury prone? Or is it just a one-time thing that he just happened to be hurt this year? Because when he's healthy, he's great.
Yeah.
But he was last year. The story last year was he was inconsistent. So they brought him down and it made a world of a difference for him. He came back and he just started raking. So it brought his confidence back up. You know what I mean? So this year, you know, you only question is first base. Simeon is probably going to be gone either trade deadline or at the end of the year. Bichette's going to be. I don't know about Bichette. He's probably going to, if he gets hot, right? And the Mets have an inkling that they're going to get decent prospects back, then they're going to trade him. So he'll be gone. You know, so you now have a couple holes that are not going to open up at season's end. You know what I mean? Unless you can get those guys in the trade deadline, and that might be, you know, guys who, you know, that team might be giving up on that they're going to want. You know what I mean?
No, it's going to be the same shit last year. You know what's going to happen? All right, so now if we're sellers, right, so we get rid of Peralta, we get some bullshit back for him, right? And then we get rid of Minter, we get rid of Riley, we get rid of, you know, Peterson maybe, we get rid of Lindor if we're fucking crazy, right? And then you turn around and then you say, oh, the season's over, try to get rid of Vientos or something, you know, and then season's over and you're like, oh my God. Oh, you get rid of Bichette and Simeon because, you know, now the season's really over. So now, at the end of the season, you have the same exact problem you had the year before that. And now you have to try to fill in these holes with new faces. And we're going to have the same problem all over again, you know? So, like, when does the cycle end, you know? It's so bad for them. It's so bad.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's a vicious shot. It's a same cycle, just different players. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like a washing machine. The washing machine's spinning, but it's not cleaning the clothes. So you think, maybe it's the clothes I put in just super dirty. Nope, it's not the clothes. It's the machine. It's just the problem is, do the Mets to address the machine, which is in the case of the Mets, it would be like, okay, would be to blow up the whole thing and start over. The Mets don't want to do that because it's going to make them look bad. They got all this money, got the richest owner in the league. You have future superstars on your team. You know, you have young, even the veterans on your team, they're not old per se. Soto's still young. Bichetta's still young. You know, so it's not like you don't have an aging team, you know what I mean? So that's not the issue with the Mets. It's just, so the thing is it's like I said, new players, same problem. You know, you can't fire the owner. Yeah, you can fire the GM, but it's like, all right, you had a GM before, same problem. So it's like, what's the problem? And it seems like it's very hard for the Mets to pinpoint what the problem is, because when you do find a problem, or you're like, oh, this is the problem, you're like, no, that's actually not the problem. It's something else, or a bunch of other problems rise up, and then now it's like, oh my God, there's all these problems, and you're like, all right, which problem do I address first? You know what I mean? And that's the problem. And I thought, and you thought, and everybody else, wow, because we all just said, oh, it's the owner's the problem. You know, the Wilpons are cheap. They don't want to do nothing, blah, 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 blah. They don't want to fix this. They don't want to buy that. Or they give money to the wrong guys. You know, that was the knock on the Wilpons, which is true. Yeah. Jason Bays of the world,
Old players.
Old players. You can't do nothing. You know, there's so many names we can name off, rattle off. Billy Wagner, all these other guys. But it just so you got rid of the owner. So like, oh cool, problem solved. He got
Yeah,
all
now
these
we have
guys. The
money.
last 2 years, he's been signing guys to $300 million plus contract. Two guys on your team right now with $400+ million contracts. Okay, all right. So wait, that didn't work because we're losing.
Those pieces are good. I think it's the way that the Lindor piece and the Soto piece, those are good pieces to have. All right, that's not the problem. That's not the problem. You know, you have to build a team with good pieces, and those are great pieces. Now, you go get Bichette. Bichette is hitting like this, and you have, you know, Soto and Lindor hitting, then you have a good problem, you know. But the pieces aren't hitting. You know, if we were hitting in the beginning, like the first day you know, we were hitting. We looked good. We were like, oh my God, we're gonna have a great season. Then it just fell off right away. I don't know. The lineup changed. I think we need a new manager, to be honest with you. And then I think from there we can talk. So we can compare the differences.
Here's my thing about the manager thing, right? So if they didn't fire him when they were on a 10-game losing streak, what makes you think they're going to fire him before the season's over? In my opinion, they're not going to. And if you do fire him, let's say after the All-Star game, how stupid does that make? Like, why'd you wait till after? I'm just speaking theoretically. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if you do fire Mendoza after the All-Star break, why did you wait so long? Like, you saw the same thing from April to June. So, and the same thing is still happening from June to July. So, why did you wait to fire him? Maybe you could have caught a lightning in the bottle like the Phillies have lately
Yeah.
and turned it around. Or maybe it would have been like a Boston Red Sox situation. They fired their coach too. Look where they are, just as bad as they were without Cora or with Cora. So it's confusing because I don't know the rationale or the reasoning, and that's what's frustrating for Mets fans. Is like, okay, this guy's not capable. He can't do it. He's over his skis, like we said earlier. So what is the point of keeping him? Is it to save face on the organization
I
and to not
guess
make Stearns look bad or to
I
make
can't think
Cohen
of
look bad?
anything else. I can't think of anything else. I don't know what it is.
So what what I mean? Because a well-run team, they're not gonna care about face. They don't care. Make fun of me all you want. New York, put me on the back pages. You know what I mean? Uh, Steinbrenner, you think he cared? He didn't give a damn crap that people gave him hell on the back of the New York Post. He did it because he's like, all right, we gotta make changes. Who cares? Oh well, I don't care. I can take the heat. What I can't take is losing. You know what I mean? And the thing is when the Mets don't do nothing, it makes them look like they're complacent with what's going on, and you're okay with what's going on. In reality, there's no way Cohen is happy. There's no way. You send a lot of money. You got all these guys. You can't tell me he's like sitting upstairs in the office, watching. Like, all right, you know what? This is great. Yeah, we suck, but oh well, who cares? There's no way.
No,
You know.
they're thinking that they're gonna be able to turn it around. And they still feel like they have time, and they feel like that the product they put out is the product that's gonna win it all. And they feel like there's something wrong, but it's not the players that they picked. They feel like it's something else. They can't figure it out, but they feel like eventually it's gonna turn around and it's gonna start moving in the right direction. This is what I'm thinking because that's how they're moving.
See, what's challenging about what's different about baseball compared to like football and basketball or even hockey, in all those three sports I just mentioned, there's a system that you can run. There's a style of offense and defense that you can run for basketball. Same thing with football. So what you want to do is if in football, if you run a 3-4 defense versus a 4-3 defense, you want to get players that play well in a 3-4 defense, not guys that can play in a 4-3 defense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you can't do that in baseball because baseball is see ball, hit ball, catch ball, see ball, catch ball. There's no strategy. There's no strategies. The only strategies is the bases essentially. You know what I mean? And defensively, but that strategy got taken away because they took away the automatic. You can't shift anymore. You know what I mean? So that's the challenging thing about baseball because in football, like I said, you could get players that fit your system. That's what the Jets are doing. That's what the Raiders are doing. Your team, trying to find players that fit the system to how the Raiders want to be. Do they want to be a run-heavy offense? Do they want to be a dominant defense? All right. Like I said, get players that can play that position well, you know what I mean? And find their strengths. In baseball, there's no, okay, your strength is hitting home runs. Okay, that's not the Mets' weakness. Everyone can hit home runs on that Mets team. Tell me one player on the Mets team that doesn't have a home run that's currently in the lineup right now. All of them have home runs, at least one or more. You know what I mean? So that's not the issue. And all of them play defense okay. They're not terrible. You know, they have a lot of blunders. You know, Soto's been having a lot of blunders. Not Soto, Lindor, excuse me. You know, Simeon has been having his blunders, but Soto, it's just, I don't know what it is. It's the football, baseball, there's no system. There's no players to fit a system because there is no system. So you get players in baseball based on numbers. Numbers dictate the sport. And, they're like, oh, well. And then because the way baseball works is you compare numbers to your stadium. Because if you look at the Mets Stadium, it's a very hitter-friendly ballpark. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? And it's also, it can be a pitcher-friendly ballpark too, yeah, but it's more of a hitter-friendly ballpark. That's one of the reasons why Soto went to the, that's not one of the reasons. That's a lie.
That's not a lie.
But still, it's short at Yankee Stadium, right field or whatever, left field than it is at Citi. But either way, Citi Field is a very home run friendly stadium. If you can hit home runs, you can mash home runs, you'll be successful. So all those guys on the team can do that. It's just they're not gelling. That's the thing I'm noticing. You get a bunch of players and expect them to gel within the first year. It's not going to work. Same thing with the Knicks. It took them a couple years to gel, People think the Knicks just got lucky. No, it took them 4 years to get to where they were. They finally got the right coach in Thibodeau. They had to get rid of him, and then they finally got the right coach. That's why it bothered me about the Mets with Buck Showalter. I said, they finally got the manager. They finally got a manager that players are going to listen to. They're going to believe in him. They're going to do, and it worked for a while. They won 100-plus games back-to-back years. They made it to the wild card, and they lost. But then, Cohen, in some ways, he did the right thing by not interfering with Stearns, but Stearns, he said, it's my first time. I want to get my guy, and never listened to Showalter just to see what he has to say, maybe, get his 2 cents on what he thinks might be the problem, or, I have an idea, and he wants to bring his own guy in, and right now it's kind of backfired, and it's like, I wonder what, I'll tell you this right now, if Buck Showalter's still the team, they wouldn't be this bad. I think he'd be a lot more competitive. They would play with heart, because he's not going to allow this nonsense. He's not going to allow Lindor throwing the balls, forgetting how many outs there are in the top of the first.
And not getting benched for that shit. Not getting benched for it. That's the problem.
There's no accountability because these coaches, the reason why there's no accountability, 2 reasons. One, the players know Mendoza has no cachet. He's not a Showalter. He's not a Bruce Bochy. He's not a, what's his name? Brian Snicker, he's not one of those guys that have cachet, that has rings jingling on their fingers. So they don't care. They just do whatever they want. And they know, and these new managers, they know that they don't run the show. Guys from Harvard upstairs run the show. The GM runs the show. The owner runs the show. You have no say. Hey, Mendoza, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Sit your butt down. Give the lineup card to the umpire. Go take out a picture, and that's it. That's all he does now if you look at it. And the players know that. Their players make more money than him. Why would they listen to him? Would you? No. You know what I mean? It's like listening to a boss who's always ghetto and ratchet and like rude all the time. Would you listen to her? No, you're not gonna take her seriously. Yeah, she might be my boss, but I'm gonna blow her off every time, or blow him off every time they're not around me, because I'm like, I'm not gonna do. I'm gonna do what I want. We've had managers like that. Like, you're a manager. Like, what the heck? Same thing. So if they don't believe in him or don't trust in him, then the disciplining these guys has no value. It doesn't mean anything. Because even if you discipline him, all right, cool, you sent me out of the game, all right. It's like getting punished when you were a kid. All right, you punished. You tell me I can't go outside with my friends. All right, I'll just sit inside and play video games. It's the same concept. You know what I mean? They don't care. So that's the risk you run when you hire these new guys. Yes, I'm gonna do everything that the numbers say. No, you want a manager that's gonna push back. That's why I don't. Today's managers are robots, man. It drives me crazy. There's no feeling towards. There's no emotion. They're not allowed to say how they really feel. I'm telling you, I guarantee if you locked up I'm telling you, when Mendoza does his exit interviews one day when he retires or quits, he's gonna do. He's gonna do what Terry Collins did. He's really gonna tell us how he really felt. That's gonna happen.
Of
Terry
course.
Collins did that, and guess what? It's like, damn. Once you found out what he really said and how he felt, I felt bad for Terry Collins. I was like, man, he was actually not a bad manager, man. He was okay. He
He's a good manager.
was a good manager. They just didn't give him enough rope, and and he just it just sucks, and that's why he's out. And so that's probably what's gonna happen with Mendoza. Who knows? It sucks because okay. So here's the thing. Everyone says, okay, let's hire Carlos Beltran. Okay, we know Carlos Beltran because he was a great player. Not all great players equate to great managers. Look at George Girardi.
Yeah, but
Good player. He's not coaching anymore.
yeah, but he's like a figure that all those players in that clubhouse respect.
They can relate to him. He's still young.
Exactly, and
He's
and
not
they
old
respect
school.
them, and he can make them understand, and he does have knowledge, the way he played the game, it was special. So like, he's that figure that they would be able to look up to. So I can see how that would be better for the team, and he'll make him hustle, and then we want to play hard for him because he was out there just like them. So I don't know. Maybe that's the change they need. I don't know, but
I don't
you
know
made a
because
lot of good points.
look at see, here's where I'm skeptical. You're right. Carlos Beltran has more cachet. Okay, look at the guy in Anaheim. I think his name is the manager is Kurt Suzuki. He used to be a catcher for the Twins. I forgot what team he was a catcher for, but he was a catcher. I think he played for them too as a catcher. He's now the manager. I mean, he's terrible. The team is trash, so it doesn't mean it's gonna work. But one benefit that Beltran had was he was around AJ Hinch, and that guy won a chip. Yes, did they cheat? Yes, but besides that, he was around a good GM who knew how to develop a good team. Mike Elias was in Houston. The GM assistant with the Astros and all those guys that put that team together. So he has an idea maybe how to put a team together. So that's what I'm excited to see if he can do that. Is he going to have say in putting let's just say, hypothetically, if they do hire Beltran, we just assume it's going to be him. We have no clue. There's been so many cases where we think it's one guy and they hire somebody else.
It could be Cora. It could be Cora.
Like, where the hell? If no. My two guys, the guy that the Phillies just fired, Robbie Thompson, and Cora. Robbie Thompson has been just as successful as Cora. Now, Cora's won a World Series recently, but so those three guys, Thompson, Cora, and Beltran. So that'd be great. That's a manager that has cachet, but he'll have some say on the lineup. You know what I mean? Because he has proof. He has proof in the pudding, and he has rings to show for it. So that's the thing with Beltran. Is he gonna have a lot of leeway to have input, or is he gonna just be like Mendoza, where he's gonna be handcuffed and can't say nothing? But he's gonna look good. He's gonna look aesthetically pleasing because everyone knows him. He's a former Met. He had a great season in 2006 with the Mets. He carried them all the way almost to the play. Carried them far into NLDS, right? I think they went to NLDS that year.
Yeah, you know what that is? That's the what Lasha would call the blah 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 blah.
It is blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But that's what fans look at. But there's more in depth stuff that we can't see that the team looks at that we don't know about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're gonna play hard for him.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I think
that's the most important part right there. They're gonna play hard for him.
Bring in Pujols. Maybe he'll do good. He did well in the DR in the winner league.
Yeah, but when you have a team
DR
like that, look at the team they had. It's different, But we will see. We don't know.
Yeah. Well, in baseball news, a couple of baseball news is Mike Trout is back on the IL, which is sad, which is rough to hear because he's one of the all-time best players in my time watching him, and he was the face of the league at one time before Judge took over that. And he just recently got put on the IL. He has I think it was right quadrant pain. He's going to be on a 10-day IL. Now, granted, they're not winning games with him. And the problem with the one knock I have against Trout is he's a little too loyal. And every time he's never asked for a trade. He's never, said, get me the heck out of here, things like that. But this year, he's been batting 234 with OPS of 472, 17 home runs, 12 doubles, 7 stolen bases, 36 RBIs in 74 games. He leads the AL with 54 runs in 74 games. So I was like, wow, he might go a whole season without getting hit because the last couple of years he's just been injury prone. But he's having a really good year. Those are good numbers I just read off. Yeah, and it makes you wonder, are they going to trade him? And if I'm Mike Trout, you got to stop with the loyalty. Then you're not going in there. You're not going to win. Go to a winner. Go to some team that's going to be, in contention to win.
To win a ring.
Yeah, because he and not only that, go to a team like the East where people can watch you play. Half the people don't even watch these games because, one, it's 4 bats. 2, the games are on the West Coast. Most of us can't stay up till 1 in the morning to watch this game by the time it's done. You know what I mean? I watched the beginning of it, but they're not even fun to watch. If they were like the Dodgers or something, yeah, then I would, stay up and watch. But even then, I can't stay up that late and watch.
No, but Tama, you just said we don't want to see him on the Dodgers either. You know what I'm saying? Like, that'll be, I don't know.
Well, no, because they would have to give up a lot. But they might because Kyle Tucker's been, was it Kyle Tucker? Yeah. He's been terrible for them. So
yeah, boss.
They might be like, all right, cool. Because, the Padres, excuse me, not the Padres. The Dodgers don't care about money. They don't care. Any way to get any piece to help him get a chip. And if that means getting him, oh my God, him in LA or the Yankees, him and Judge together, that'd be pretty amazing.
Yeah, if he stayed healthy, yeah.
Yeah, so who knows? So he's supposed to be on the 10-day IL. So, but if I am the Angels, I go up to try. Listen, man, if I trade you, you still have some trade value. Because you're doing well, I could get these people back. We need to build a system. If you really want to come back, we can sign you at the end of the offseason, and we'll give you whatever you want. That's what they could do. They could do what the Yankees did several years ago with the Aroldis Chapman. They let him go to Chicago in a trade. They got a bunch of prospects back. Offseason came. They re-signed him. So if he really wants to come back, just do that. That's what I would do. But if the guy doesn't want to be traded, then you can't do it. If he has a no-trade clause or he doesn't want to go anywhere, then you're screwed. But if I'm the Angels and I'm Trout, I'm like, all right, bro. I gave you 10+ years here. You haven't done nothing. I don't think he's ever made the playoffs in this. Has he in his time with the Dodgers and the Angels?
I can't remember.
Maybe one time, but it's sad, man. I love Mike Trout, and that's the problem that baseball has is their star athletes never get put on the shine because one, they only have 4 bats. 2, if they play on the West Coast, look at the Dodgers, the best stars, Shohei Ohtani, Freeman, on the Padres, Tatis when he was good, all these superstars on the West Coast, but half the people can't even watch the games because it's too late. So you don't even get to see the Super. It's not like the NBA. We're like, okay, on NBA, on Thursday nights, they're gonna put LeBron James on TV because he's the box office and they get fans. That's how you get fans to the game. You can't do that in baseball. Hey, we're gonna put Mike Trout on ESPN. All right, well, what time's the game? 10:00 at night. You can put the game on Fox 5 locally, but I'm not staying up at 10:00 at night till 1 in the morning to watch him play. And out of those 4 bats, he might go 1 for 3. He might go 0 for 4. He might strike out 3 times. I don't know. In basketball, LeBron's going to hit 25 points minimum. You know what I mean? He's going to get 10 rebounds. He's going to get 10 assists. He's going to hit a double-double. It's different. Hockey's kind of different too because in hockey, it's not guaranteed that Connor McDavid is going to get a goal in that game, but he's gonna have influence. But it's hockey and baseball are very similar. Superstars, but their superstars don't always guarantee that they're gonna score a goal. You know what I mean? But you just know he's a major influence on how well that team plays. For the Edmonton Oilers. So I would love to see him trade. If I am him, I would say I want to come to the New York Yankees or somewhere that's competitive. The problem is there's not a lot of teams for him to choose in the American League. The American League is trash, bro. It's terrible. 4 teams, 4 are above 500, and we're already almost at the end of June. That's not a good sign. That's really bad.
No, but there's a lot of turnarounds too. Like, look, last year around this time, Detroit was smoking motherfuckers, right? And now Chicago, the White Sox are on top of that division. Like, how is this happening? Like, over a year, drastic changes. The Mets, same shit, whatever. But everybody else, the Athletics too. They're playing.
They're
decent.
stingy, man. Yeah, I like the team. They're a young team. Like the Orioles last year. They fired the manager and they had a better second half. They had a winning record with Tony Manzolino running the show. Maybe they should have kept him. And I'm starting to wonder, like, maybe the players respected him, liked him. Now you just change it up to get somebody else who they don't know. So sometimes that could also fracture a locker room. I don't know what's going on. But, so yeah, a team could make a second half run. But if you're looking at it right now, there's only 4 teams. Tampa Bay would be a contender maybe for him. The Yankees. I'm trying to think of what other American League team that would be has a very good chance of making the playoffs. You think he's going to go to Chicago? No. We don't know if they're going to make the playoffs.
No, we don't
know. But if you could trade for him and you can get prospects, because if a hungry team is desperate, prospects are nothing because prospects are unknown. You don't know what they're going to turn out to be. You know what I mean? Look at Jackson Holiday. They thought he was going to be a superstar. So far, he's been trash with the Orioles. He's been awful. I feel like the game it's just too big for him. He's just really not as ready as they thought he was. You can rake in the minor leagues, but once you get to the pros, it's not the same. It's a whole different world. Yeah. It's like they say AAA to MLB is like going from college football to NFL. Like the guys are 10 times faster, and you have to have really good reaction time. You gotta be really. You have minimal errors. You have minimal room to make mistakes in the major leagues because when you make a mistake, it's drastic. You're gonna end up on SportsCenter. If you make a mistake in Norfolk Tides or Syracuse Mets, no one's gonna know about it because no one watches their games. You know what I mean? It's a different story.
This is how I know that Ewing and Benj are the truth. Because these kids are the future of the Mets, and that's what I'm excited about right now. If anything, that is pretty amazing to watch. To see those kids just come out of the gates and just be able to hit and compete at that major league level. Like you said, it's super hard and the difference is huge and they're doing it. I love it. We need more of those guys.
If that's the case, then you got to trade all your guys and bring in young studs and build up the farm system and start all over. And that's okay. Yeah. If you have to suck for a couple years, the Baltimore did a couple years. They sucked for a couple years. It hasn't worked out because they haven't won anything and they're back to square one essentially. So if that's what they gotta do, then that's what they gotta do. If build back up. You gotta stay baseball. You gotta be young. Yeah, it's a sport where a player can play 10 plus years and still be effective in year 8. Or a guy who's in his 30s still be pretty effective. For their team. Look at Kyle Schwarber, man. He's in his 30s. He's been great for them. He's still pretty reliable.
Yeah, he is.
Nick Castellanos in San Diego. He was terrible in Philadelphia, but he went to a new place and he's been pretty reliable for them. So anything can happen. So, I don't know when the last time, you might know this. When's the last time the Mets did an actual full rebuild where they just all right, we're using our prospect and build a farm system and start over. I can't think of it. I don't know. Maybe you do.
I don't remember.
Here's a question though. If you're doing a full rebuild, are you willing to give up Peralta? You're not going to give up the two starters, or you're not going to give up McLean, that for sure, and Jonah Tong. I don't think you might give up the other guy. What's the other guy? Scott. What's his name?
Christian Scott.
You might be willing to give him up if you can get
No,
something in a package.
No, you're not getting.
You send him in Bichette somewhere, or that trade that they made with Milwaukee. It looks like both teams did. It looks like the Mets are the winners right now. Well, they're both not winners because Peralta's doing well. Numbers wise, his individual wise, he's doing good. But both teams, Milwaukee's looking better, but the pieces they got from the Mets is not the reason why they're winning. You know what I mean?
No, but it's still early. It's too early to tell.
Yeah.
Because, you fix that. They're young. So you say, oh, this is not working, so let's try to figure this out. And they can turn them into stars, bro. Depending on the hitting coaches and who the fuck is going to put up them. So it's still too early to call that. Peralta's still doing his thing. No run support. It's been shaky for him. But, that's going to be my question. You're going to see. My question is coming soon because we're almost coming to the end of this. And it's going to be interesting. Let's see what you say.
So the Yankees, since they've lost Aaron Judge, they've gone 8-4. They've now taken full control of the American League East over Tampa Bay. They're 45-27 with a 3.5 game lead over the Rays. And they're finally getting contributions from the other guys besides Judge and Ben Rice, because those are the only two guys that seem to be carrying the team. And their pitching staff is like top level, A level staff. They're amazing, man. And it's just the offense has been inconsistent. And these guys have been coming up. Chisholm's doing a little better. They're still the biggest problem with the Yankees is the catching position is terrible. Austin Wells, I don't know what happened. He's just been terrible. But Goldschmidt's been okay. Stanton has been doing well. That was a concern. How are they going to be? Where's their numbers going to come from offensively once you lose Judge? But they've been winning games, and they're mashing home runs. So I'll give a lot of credit to Aaron Boone. That's the thing. As an Orioles fan, that's what bothers me about the Yankees is no matter how bad they have, they're still okay. They never hit rock bottom. They always find a way to rebound. They always find a way to readjust, and that's what makes them a great organization.
True.
And that's what Mets fans. That's why the Mets hate the Yankees. That's why I hate the Yankees because it's not fair. I sound like a 5-year-old kid. It's not fair. They always win. I used to tell my dad that when I was a kid. He goes, well, that's just the way it is, man. You got to run your team a lot better. I said, if you want to be good like the Yankees, you got to run them just as good as they do. And they have the right people. They know how to run. That's why it makes me mad when Yankees fans say, we got to fire Brian Cashman. He's terrible. Oh, my God. It makes me cringe because if Brian Cashman got fired, everybody and their mother would hire him because that's how great he is as a GM. And so the GM, that just tells you how important a GM is, getting the right people in that you can trust. And Hale Steinbrenner, he trusts him. Now, Hale wasn't the one that hired him, but still, he trusts him. And that's the thing. That's the thing that a coach has to find, the owner has to do. Can you find someone that can run the show that you honestly trust? And, that's the problem the Mets are having. I don't know if they do trust Stearns, but not fully. It sounds like I don't know. Maybe they trust him too much. There's a such thing as you trust someone too much, and because you trust him too much, you let him get away with a lot more stuff than you would someone that you don't trust. You know what I mean?
Of course, I don't know.
So I don't know, but they're doing great. Anyway, so.
Talk to me about the pitcher and the hitter of the week.
So the hitter of the week is for the Milwaukee Brewers, Jacob Mezorowski. He went 9 innings on June. Yeah, again, exactly. June 12th versus the Phillies, a 6-0 win. 9 innings. He pitched a full game, gave up 1 hit, 0 earned runs with 15 strikeouts. Man, that's pretty amazing.
Christ.
It's amazing with Milwaukee. They get all the Burns gone. Peralta gone. Get in another guy. I'm like, bro, I'm telling you, they have like a factory. They have like an AI factory of all these pitchers, it seems like. And they don't miss a beat. And when they lose players, they just keep winning, So good for them. The hitter of the week is Dylan Dinger of the
He sounds
Detroit
like
Tigers on June 9th against Minnesota, a 10-4 win for the Tigers. He hit four. He went 4 for 5, 2 home runs, a double, 4 RBIs, and 3 runs.
wow.
They're doing terrible, and they have AJ Hinch. I think their pitching has been inconsistent. The guy they got, I already forgot his name. The guy they got from Houston last year, Framer Valdez, he's been terrible. He hasn't been as good as he thought. But anyway, that's your gunslinger and hitter of the week.
All right. That's crazy. But your man, yeah. Milwaukee is crazy with the pitching. You're right. Now, you're 2.5 games out in the wild card. So you're definitely buyers. And the Mets, right, at this moment are 10th, right, in the slot when it comes to teams, but they're 5 games out. I was saying we're sellers. So let's happen to say, hypothetically speaking, this is the question of the week for you. Now, hypothetically speaking, Baltimore is buying and the Mets are selling. I mean, look at those numbers. Now, what would you take from the Mets to make your team better? Mm. What would you try to pry from the Mets? And what you know is going to definitely be open to be discussed? And what would you take from that list?
The only thing that I would want from the Mets is pitching because the Orioles need pitching. You can solve the other problems. I'll take Peralta, but the thing is, you better sign him. You better not just let him walk like Corbin Burns. Now, that deal, not signing him, hasn't backfired because Corbin Burns hasn't pitched, and he's been terrible, or I don't think he's been all that great. So I haven't heard about anything since he left Baltimore. So don't make the same mistake twice and be like, all right, yeah, we'll trade him, hope that we make a run, and we don't make the run. Or you did what they did is they got knocked out in the first round. They got swept by Texas, and then they let the guy go, and now he's somewhere else. So if you're gonna, who do I want? I would get Bichette, but Bichette's gonna be a rental because you got Jordan Westbrook. He's your future third baseman. So why are you gonna keep Bichette? You know what I mean? Okay. So if you can give me Bichette without having to give you, an arm and a leg, sure, give me Bichette and give me Peralta. But other than that, I know I'm not going to get any of your young pitchers. No. I know I'm not getting your young outfielders, Ewing and what was the other guy's name? Benj. I know I'm not getting those guys. I'm not getting Soto. Sure as hell I'm not getting.
You can get Lindor. How about Lindor?
Lindor, no, because where's he gonna? What are you gonna do with the other guy? You gonna let him go? You gonna let Gunnar Henderson go? No, he's younger. Yeah, he's out in a down year, but his number's a little better than Lindor. You know what I mean? Unless you can make Lindor your DH, you could do that. Maybe. Does he want to be a DH? I don't know. He can't play first base. First base is not the problem. Believe it or not, Alonso's been playing pretty well at first. He's not. He hasn't been terrible. He's just inconsistent. Numbers-wise, he looks great, but he just sucks. He never comes through when he needs to. I'm telling you, man, every time I turn on the Warriors game, I manage to turn it on when Alonso's at bat. It's like, of course, I put on the game. It's like he's going to pop out. He's not going to come through. And it's like, it's like you signed this guy because you think he's going to be clutch, not because of his numbers. It is because of his numbers, yeah, and it looks great in Baltimore because, that's a hitter-friendly ballpark. So, yeah, to answer your question, I'd want Peralta or Bichette. Bichette would be a rental, Peralta long-term signing. So those are the only two guys I want. I'm not going to get everybody else. I don't want Alvarez. I don't need Roberts. I don't need Simeon. I sure as hell don't want Beatty. Beatty can go fly a kite somewhere. Polanco, he's hurt. He's not. We have no clue when he's going to come back. Alvarez, we don't need him. We got Basayo. Plus, the Mets aren't going to let go of Francisco Alvarez. He's finally a good catcher. He just needs to stay healthy. So, yeah, Peralta, and that's it.
Bichette.
And Bichette, yeah.
Wow. That's interesting.
Only way you come there is like if they're in playoff contention, but Baltimore has the same record as the Mets. Why would he want? No. But, yeah. If. The question is if.
All right. That was very, very interesting. I wasn't expecting you to say that. You had a lot deeper. How about Raleigh, Minter? You know what I'm saying? How about...
I don't need a catcher. Why would I need Kyle Raleigh?
Okay. No.
AJ Minter?
Yeah,
Yeah, the
bro.
bullpen could have used help. The bullpen is
You know
trash.
what
They
I'm saying?
finally got Ryan Helsley back. He just came back yesterday. He got a save. He was
Okay.
out for a while, former Met.
You know,
Who else?
you wouldn't go for that. You wouldn't go for Brazoban. You wouldn't go for, you know what I'm saying, Mentor. You wouldn't go for
I'll take
Raleigh.
Brazoban in Atlanta. I think he could be good. Yeah, I'll take Brazoban in Atlanta. You asked me about my team, so yeah, they could use some bullpen help. But Atlanta, they're struggling a little bit. They've been on a little tailspin, but they haven't. That's not the reason why they're bad. So, yeah, those are two guys.
Okay.
Okay, so let me ask you a question: Who Peralta and Bichette? What teams would you be willing to trade him to? Would you be willing to
Nah,
trade him to
nah.
the Dodgers?
Nah, doesn't work like that. It's for the highest bidder, bro, at this point. You want to get
So
the
if the
most out.
Dodgers are the highest bidder, you wouldn't trade to them?
I mean, listen, I don't want to listen.
Suck up your pride.
No, this is it. Let me tell you. I'll tell you straight up, and then we're gonna let you go because this is how this works. For me, I wouldn't get rid of any of the pitching because pitching is very hard to find. So I'm keeping the pitching. If I'm gonna move anything, I'm gonna move positional players. I'm not moving any pitching because pitching is so hard to get. And if they're good, let's keep them on our team. You know what I'm saying? Peralta, I would try to sign him. I would try to keep the bullpen. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to move shit like that. You know? It makes no sense. Then you're gonna be struggling in that department. It's not good. But we'll see you next week. Hopefully
Yeah.
some funny shit happens and we can sweep the Phillies because we rest tomorrow and then we play Saturday, Sunday. So we'll see what happens.
No, you have a game tomorrow, don't you? It's a 4-game
Nah,
series.
no, about that. Also, 4 game series. Well, you know what? I think my dad said we rest tomorrow. I'm not sure.
What? Let me look that up because why would they have a break in between a 4-game series?
Yeah,
Makes no sense.
so.
Let me look. So it's a 3-game series then? Fridays? No,
Look,
that's still a 4-game.
look.
No, but they never have Fridays off. Only time they do that is beginning of the season. If it's like a game, seasons, starts on a Thursday. Let me look. Oh, we play the Brewers. Oh, Brewers are gonna kill the. It could be a good series. Nationals, Rays, Giants, Marlins, Padres.
Yeah, they don't play tomorrow. They don't play tomorrow.
That is the weirdest thing on planet Earth.
Yeah, my dad was right. My dad's always right, man. No, they don't
It's a
play.
3-game series, but you're not.
3 game
What
series,
the
but we don't play
hell?
tomorrow. Saturday, Sunday.
That
Then we
makes
come back to
no.
New York with the Cubs, and that's a 4 game series.
Cubs have been good. They're starting to get it together.
That's the
PCA's
4 game
been a little
series
better.
at Citi Field, and then the Phillies coming. There's a 7 game series. 7 games at City. 4 with the Cubs, 3 with the Phillies. So let's see what happens.
You gotta go 4-2 or 4-3. I mean, in that
Yeah,
series.
please. I don't believe in these guys anymore. But
We'll see you next week. Peace out.
guys.
You keep on running around with other women in town. I've had enough of these games. Of these games.
Yo.